It's now my pleasure to introduce Ali Munawar Zakaria, the Director of Demand Programs for Middle East and Africa and IBM, to talk about Smarter Planet. Welcome, Ali.
Very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for attending the session. The topic of the session is Smarter Planet, an industry view of turning information into insights. I am from IBM, as was introduced by Omar earlier. And let me start off my presentation with a short 2-minute video clip on what Smarter Planet is all about.
Today, intelligence is being infused into the systems and processes that make the world work, into things no one would recognize as computers, cars, appliances, roads, power grids, even clothing and water. Trillions of digital devices connected to the internet are producing emotional data. All this information, from the flow of markets to the pulse of societies, can be turned into knowledge, because we now have the computational power and advanced analytics to make sense of it. With this knowledge, we can reduce costs, cut waste, improve the efficiency, productivity, and quality of everything from companies to cities. The signs of a smarter planet are all around us. Smarter systems are creating value in every major industry, across every region, in both the developed and developing worlds. In over 400 cities last year, smart traffic systems reduced delays by more than 700,000 hours, saving each city over $15 million. In Washington, smart grid and meter systems saved citizens 10% on their energy bills and cut power usage by 15%. Hamburg has smart healthcare. Madrid has smart public safety. Galway has smart water. Smart supply chains are cutting retailers' costs by 30%, reducing inventory levels by 25%, increasing sales by 10%. Banks and financial organizations across the globe are achieving new levels of risk control. A smarter planet isn't a metaphor, or a vision, or a proposal. A smarter planet is happening. At the dawn of this new millennium, forward-thinking leaders around the world are creating tangible outcomes and benefits. They are learning how to make their part of our planet smarter. Welcome to the decade of smart. Let's build a smarter planet.
All right, that was a very quick snippet on what Smarter Planet is all about. As I was sitting in the audience just now listening to the panel discussion, and towards the end, the discussion shifted not so much on a technical sort of perspective, but towards more of the industry perspective. People were asking why are we focusing on certain industries in this industry day and so on. So I thought it's very timely that I sort of introduce, and at non-technical level, some of the business issues that are facing some of our key select industries. 15 minutes does not allow me to go into the whole variety of industries, but I'll focus a little bit more on healthcare, government and education within the time limits that I have, right? So the agenda is as listed on this page here. Now, a lot of you all are technical folks, so I won't be going into a lot of details, but essentially, as you know, as we are evolving into this new age of information, you all realize that we are all linked economically, socially, and technically. Now, what I mean by economically, something happens in one part of the world, has got economic impacts on the other. Example, oil prices, a war, some crisis, and so on. Socially, you all seen the manifestation of it in this part of the world with the Arab Spring, etc., how it impacts social life. And as well as technically, evolution of the technology has gone in at such a rapid pace that we all have time keeping up with them. Over and above that, we are seeing other aspects are also influencing our daily lives. Climate change, energy, geopolitics, supply chain. For example, the tsunami in Japan first quarter of last year caused a huge disruption to the production of automobile and its parts, right? And financial crisis, is still happening right now. A lot of issues with the banking and financial systems in Europe is causing a lot of chain reaction in other parts of the world. On top of that, we have got changing demographics. We've got a very young, tech-savvy workforce coming into the market. At the same time, our average age of the population is getting older. We have got very much a community or a population of very empowered consumers and citizens. I think I don't have to give examples of that. And the whole impact of technology, which is why we are here today, is really changing the way we live and go about doing our business. So, again, and many of you are technical, so you all can appreciate that technology is it's at a stage that it is impossible to be very, very far away from technology, and we're all carrying things like mobile phones and calculators and computers, laptops, etc. So, you know, what the word computers or chips doesn't really apply to the old days when we have a machine. It is present in everything from domestic appliances to our communication devices and of course our computers. So everything and anything has got some kind of technology built into it. So what does that give us? It gives us a world that is becoming very instrumented, very interconnected, and very intelligent. And what do I mean by that? There are, by 2010, we estimate there are 30 billion RFID tags out there. 30 billion. That's about 1 to 5 roughly for every person on the planet. So for every person on the planet, there are 5 RFID tags out there. It is embedded into things like cats, dogs, livestock, products and services, things like that. Products, and even things like when we go to a library, our books could be RFID tagged, right? And we estimate, and this is still an estimate, about 2 years ago we had about 1 billion mobile phone out there with cameras on them. And almost every car that is coming out, the plants today have got intelligence built into them. All right. 2 billion people on the internet, right? 4 billion, I saw another number, 5 billion, 4 billion, 5 billion, almost reaching saturation point of the number of mobile subscribers worldwide. We have run out of IP addresses. The first version 4 IP addresses allowed for a certain number of addresses. Now we are going into version 6, and there are 1 trillion devices out there we expect, which is going to cause a lot of challenges and opportunities for us out there. Guess how much information is being generated every day? 15 petabytes. Anybody knows what a petabyte is? How many zeros does it have? I struggle with gigabytes, right? The gigabyte got 9 zeros. Petabytes. I've got a small token for anybody who can answer the question. How many zeros? Just guess.
15.
Who said 15? He said 15. He's got one. Can I? That's a nice USB drive, chip. Okay. All right. And we're talking about, no longer talking about, when I grew up, we were talking about, floating point operations per second, megaflops, gigaflops. Now you're talking about petaflops. I don't know how many, again, it's 15 zeros. That's a lot of computation power. In the past, when you used to do weather forecasting, we used to look at countries as the size, the granular size. So we can say Lebanon is going to be cloudy, or it's going to have rain. Now we can go down almost to a neighborhood level and say, this part of the city is going to face, high temperature, while the other part of the city is going to be raining, or something like that. So the granularity of the weather analytics can be now supported by the technology that's out there. Right? So what does this mean to all of us, as entrepreneurs, as developers, etc.? What does it mean? It means we have an opportunity to think and act in new ways which was never ever possible. So whether it's talking about economically, socially, and technically, we have a way to make the difference to the world. Right? So I'm going to start going into the specifics of some of the examples of the industries. Like I said, I'm going to talk about government, education, and healthcare as an example. There are many other industries. We don't have the time to cover all of them. But let me start off with government, because most of us, at some point in our daily lives, on a daily basis, will interact with the government. You all can see in many parts of the world, the governments are being forced to become transparent. I think there was an example earlier that Omar presented, that the transparency has become very evident. It's becoming citizen-centric, not administrative-centric. It's not to help the government, rather, but really help the citizens out there to do interact with the customer in a much more better way. There's a lot of opportunities for us to deliver as developers and entrepreneurs. Look at opportunities where how can we be the agent or the platform of change that will enable this transformation. Businesses and citizen services is sparking new innovation. Things like, by the way, if you read my biography, I'm actually from Malaysia. I'm working in Dubai now. And both in Dubai and in Malaysia, the government has taken a lot of efforts to create this concept of the e-citizen. Right? There's a lot of portals out there. Really interacting with the government is a lot easier. Yesterday, when I was sitting in my room, I received an SMS from the Road Transport Authority of Dubai. Your license is coming up for renewal. I completely forgot about it. right? So now I know when I go back, I have to renew my car license, etc. So these kinds of things are really giving a lot of opportunities. In many cases, these are being outsourced to external parties because the government themselves can't do it. They just don't have the bandwidth, the resources to do it, so they outsource parts of it. So as entrepreneurs and developers, look at ways where this opportunity can be exploited. Accountability. Results driven agency management. Again, Omar mentioned this because of the need for the transparency is now forcing the governments to change in many parts of the world. Again, using my country as an example, they actually have a web page they call the Economic Transformation Progress Report Scorecard. Beginning of the year, they still say these are the 10 things the government is going to do from an economic perspective and how they are scoring on a monthly basis. So the citizen can go in and check what is happening and how is it impacting me. So this is just an example of what's happening out there. So what is the innovation is, we talked about information into insights. There's a need to compile all this information, right, from out there, whether it's from a tag embedded in the car for toll purposes, or when you go and check in into a hospital for your checkup or for treatment. All this information can be coordinated. There's one example which I would not have time to cover, is one on public safety, related to government as well. Some cities, most recently a city in China has actually have a dashboard of the entire operations of the city in one location. So somebody sitting at the kind of looks like a mission control, traffic lights, what's happening in different parts of the cities, crime spots and all that, and even the level of the water in the dam, everything is now coordinated. So if a flood happens, they proactively initiate all the protocols necessary to avoid the downstream impact of that. Proactively. You don't have to wait for the thing to happen. You already know what's going to happen, right? So you need the police to be deployed. Maybe the military has to be there for security reasons. The hospital has to be alerted, etc. All these will give benefits to the city information services. All right. These are some specific examples. I know I will not go into like Albuquerque, New Mexico, and Cheshire in the UK are some of the people have implemented some of these technologies. Now, looking at healthcare point of view, and again, the early announcement of the iDevelopers with Dr. Bridge is a clear example. The whole system of healthcare has evolved from a very community-centric to now being a patient-centric model. Guess who is the person with the most importance or benefit to get benefit from the healthcare? It's the individual themselves. So they need to take ownership of their own health. So a lot of the information that's now being set up today, and this has been the last, I would say, about 12 to 14 years. Things like information exchanges, you can search the web for portals on maintaining your own health, etc. Disease surveillance is a major thing. We heard about things like bird flu a couple of years back, which has got huge economic impact. How are these being shared across government? You'll be surprised. One city may not even be talking to the next city in what's the trend in terms of the infection spread, etc. So this will be possible with this level of technologies and sensors, etc. Right? So the innovation here is using personal medical devices, and I saw some tweets earlier on about, in a lighter tone, toilet seats measuring the blood pressure, the temperature, and the heartbeat of the person, and transmitting it to some central location for health management purposes. And analysis can be done in real time and be able to act proactively in terms of for supporting the needs of the individual from a wellness perspective, right? Again, some examples, one in France and one in Spain, which have actually done this. Smarter education, and by the way, there is a special, separate panel discussion here later this afternoon on trends in education technology, so if you can, do attend that session. But basically, the evolution of the education came from the time when in the 19th century it was the industrial age. The entire objective of the education system was to deliver enough labor with the right level of skills in the marketplace to facilitate the industrial revolution. Unfortunately, that has still continued in the 20th and 21st century. We need to think now more from the 21st century. We are very much a knowledge and services based industry or economy. We need to change our whole mindset on what our students coming out of the university are able to do in the marketplace, right? So no longer it's a sort of an industrial kind of a skills, it's more of services and knowledge-based kind of economy. Of course, the knowledge of technology, everybody coming out of the university these days has got a very strong awareness of technology and what it can do. So how do we exploit that? Also, in the past, the technology was used in education to support administrative functions. Now it's more about how do you affect the outcome of the learnings in the schools and the universities, right? Innovation research, there are things that are happening. Cloud computing, for example, is changing the way things are being done in the campuses and different parts of the society, right? So again, where the information coming from? It's coming from not just from the traditional sources of the administrative systems, but also from things like real-time, I call it pseudo real-time information about how the student is progressing in his academic studies, modifying the learning to suit each and individual requirement. So I may be in a class of 20 people, but I am different because I've got certain weaknesses and certain strengths, as opposed to another person having different strengths and different. In the past, it's one size fits all. I just deliver one course for everybody. Now we need to manage that, right? So with the technologies, we can actually analyze the strengths and weaknesses, what's happening, what's the trend. So if I come from this community and I'm of this background, this is what I need to be focused on, all right? Some university, Northern Carolina University and University of Massachusetts are some of the people who have used this. I just want to mention, there was some discussion yesterday on grid and cloud computing, and actually one of the speakers on the Lightning Hour talked about World Community Grid, which I encourage you to participate. If you can just Google the word World Community Grid, is something worthwhile to participate. That brings me to the close of my session. There's a lot of information I could not cover. If you drop, that's my email. If you need any information on any other industries, I've got a series of white papers on the state of the industries in banking, telecommunications, media, transportation, etc. Drop me an email and I'll share the white paper with you. With that, I'll end this session. Thank you very much.